What if I told you that one man dreamed of restoring the glory of Rome? A peasant-born, Greek-speaking outsider who ruled not only with law, but with fire and steel. His name was Justinian, and his ambition was nothing less than to rebuild the Roman Empire, not in name, but in power. This is the rise of Justinian the Great, the emperor who reached back into the past and tried to resurrect an empire 1,000 years old. Born around 482 AD in a small village in Illyria, Justinian wasn't destined for greatness. He came from humble origins, the son of peasants. But fate gave him an uncle, Justinus, a man who would climb the ranks of the imperial guard and become emperor of the Eastern Roman Empire. And when Justinus rose to power, he brought young Justinian to Constantinople. There, Justinian received a world-class education, mastering law, theology, military strategy, and Roman tradition. He wasn't just learning, he was preparing. By 527 AD, Justinian became co-emperor, and soon after, the sole ruler of the Eastern Roman Empire. Justinian had a vision, Renovatio Imperii, the restoration of the empire, but his dream came at a cost. The empire was threatened by enemies abroad and corruption within. And in 532 AD, Constantinople itself exploded in rebellion. The Nika riots, a political revolt turned citywide massacre. Factions in the Hippodrome turned against Justinian. The city burned for days, tens of thousands died. Even his own advisors begged him to flee. But Theodora, his wife, once an actress, now empress, refused to retreat. Her famous words, "Royalty is a fine burial shroud," Justinian stayed. With brutal force, he crushed the rebellion. The empire was his again, but at the cost of blood. With his general Belisarius, Justinian began reclaiming lost Roman lands. In 533 AD, Belisarius landed in North Africa, defeating the Vandals and restoring Carthage to Roman hands. Next, he turned to Italy, where the Ostrogoths held power. The Gothic War was brutal. Cities were destroyed, populations massacred. But one by one, Naples, Rome, Ravenna returned to the Eastern Empire. By the mid-550s, Justinian's armies had reclaimed Italy, North Africa, and parts of Spain. The dream was becoming reality. The Mediterranean was again a Roman lake. But the cost, devastated lands, empty coffers, and constant war. Rome's strength was never just its legions, it was its law. Justinian knew this. In 529 AD, he launched a massive legal reform, the Corpus Juris Civilis, the body of civil law. It was a bold, sweeping codification of 1,000 years of Roman legislation, organized, clarified, preserved. This code would become the foundation of legal systems in Europe for centuries. France, Germany, Italy, all would borrow from Justinian's work. In law, Justinian's empire would outlive even his own conquests. After the Nika riots leveled Constantinople, Justinian rebuilt not only homes, he rebuilt glory. The crown jewel of his vision, Hagia Sophia, the Church of Holy Wisdom, completed in 537 AD. It was the largest cathedral in the world for nearly 1,000 years. Its massive dome, floating seemingly on air, amazed all who saw it. Standing beneath it, Justinian is said to have declared, "Solomon, I have outdone thee." He also constructed roads, aqueducts, forts, and bridges, restoring infrastructure across the empire. By the time Justinian died in 565 AD, the empire was larger than it had been in centuries. But it was also exhausted. Plague had swept through his lands, the Justinianic plague, killing millions. The treasury was drained. His successors lacked his vision and strength. Much of the West he reconquered would be lost again within decades. But Justinian's impact never faded. His laws shaped nations. His buildings stood for millennia. His ambition kept the Roman dream alive for another 900 years in the form of Byzantium. Justinian was not perfect. He ruled with iron and blood. He burned cities, drained the empire, and left the people to suffer plague and war. But he was also a visionary. He reached into the ruins of a fallen empire and dared to rebuild it. And for a moment, he succeeded. The Roman Empire, if only for a flicker, was whole again. And that flicker became a flame, burning across centuries. He is remembered as Justinian the Great, not because he won every war, but because he dared to dream as the Romans once did.